Good morning, happy Tuesday. Today is a homeschool day for us, so that's what we're working on right now. So this is our second year doing our hybrid homeschool program. And how it works is that 2 days a week, my oldest, who's in first grade, goes to school. It's a private school, but it's just a normal classroom, students, all in the same age group, teacher, 2 days a week. And then on the other 3 days, we have homeschool at home. And one of the greatest joys of those 3 days is that homeschool takes us about 2 hours. Like, if I'm thinking total, and that's like we do a good amount of games. The whole school day is 2 hours, and then the rest of the day he just gets to be a kid. And I really value that, especially in these younger years. I just want him to be a kid. I'm so glad we get to do that. It also means that when we have things like appointments, that I can schedule those for our homeschool days, because I know we're not going to be doing school all day. So it also just helps keep our lives a little less busy. And I've heard from parents of older kids that just to hold on to that non-busy as much as you can, because inevitably as they get older, like, their lives just get busier. So your life gets busier, the family's life gets busier. And so I really do enjoy that we just have to have a slower pace to our weeks. That being said, we are about to head out for an appointment, and then we will come back for some lunch. I wish I could say my lunch is going to be as healthy as my children's, but we have leftover Super Bowl snacks, so that's what I'm having. I'm struggling with some motivation right now. I ate my lunch. My husband came home for his lunch, so we were just kind of like vegging in the living room for a minute. We've kind of changed a little bit of how we're doing quiet time, because my youngest has not been napping, and I don't know, trying to figure out why that is. She's almost 3. She'll be 3 in a couple months, so whether she's just outgrown it, but she still seems like she needs it. So I know I'm not alone in that struggle, but just trying to figure out how to, like, give her the opportunity to nap without putting a lot of expectation on it. So we started this week doing first hour and a half of, like, just in your bed with books, sound machine on, opportunity to nap. And now we're doing the second half with I have a little speaker that we can play stories, bring in a toy. The last half is just more like a quiet time or room time. And then that worked pretty well yesterday. Today, we only have one speaker, so I'm having my kiddos swap. So my oldest is doing his room time, quiet time with an audiobook now, and then I'll move the speaker into my youngest room. I hope that all made sense. Anyways, just trying to navigate 2 kiddos with quiet times and not one napping, one quiet time. It also means that my time is just not quite as like a long stretch of time. It's kind of broken up into these little chunks of time. It's not a big deal. It is something to like figure out. I think my plan for the next little bit is that I'm gonna have a slice of this bread. My neighbor made raspberry white chocolate sourdough and brought it over. I think I'm gonna have a slice of that and then do a little bit of quiet time for myself. And then once I do the whole audiobook swap for the kids, I think I'm gonna walk on our treadmill for a little bit just to get my body moving. It is so cold and just bleh. Outside. It's supposed to snow tomorrow. Very cold, dreary winter day. But we're gonna get through it. It has been a really good day. Just pushing for those moments of light. And this raspberry white chocolate bread is definitely one of them. We are back on the couch. It's just too cozy of a day to be anywhere else. Usually I'm a Kindle reader, but on our last library trip, I grabbed a few. It looked good. So, kids are playing. We'll do baths in a little bit and dinner, but for right now, we're just enjoying being home. Kiddos are in the process of being bathed. Normally I would be starting dinner right now, but my husband just called and said that he's going to bring home some leftovers from a work party. So I do not have to cook dinner tonight, which is a joy. Good morning. Today would normally be a school on campus day for us, but it is a snow day. So how our school does it is that since we have access to our grids, then we do an updated grid. So it's not usually as much as a home day or a school day, but we still do have some work to get done today, but not as much. We'll still get to go out and play and enjoy the snow. But first I'm gonna make coffee. We wrapped up our schooling this afternoon. We really only had 4 subjects. We had a little bit of math, a little bit of language, and then reading, and we always do memory work. So those were just the easy, light homeschool today. We did our just afternoon rest time, quiet time, mopped our floors, and then also threw in some laundry. I'm about to start dinner, but I also already did a roast in the crock pot. So it has been cooking all day. It'll be ready at dinner, and we're gonna do some mashed potatoes. from the library. Got our homeschool done this morning. Off to the library for quick pickup of some books for a school project. I thought I would sit down with you for a few minutes while the kiddos are at quiet time and just go through a couple of my favorite things for homeschooling and just maybe a couple of things that I've learned, honestly. So how our school works is that each week on an online portal, a grid is uploaded with every subject and everything that they do at school and everything that is expected to be done at home. So I am not thinking of my own curriculum. Whole school uses the same curriculum, or each, everything is pretty standard. It's not really up to a parent's individual choice. But I find that to be helpful because my day is planned for me, and then how we get those things done, or when we get those things done, is where I find the joy of flexibility. Those grids come to us. I could print them off, but it's a lot of, honestly, it's like 3 or 4 pages, and not all of it is necessary information. It's good to know, it's good to refer to, but I don't need a lot of it. So what I do, and I learned this from another homeschool mom, is that I use a very fancy one subject notebook. And I take from our grid and I write down the subject. So here we have math, and then each just task that needs to be done within that. So math and language, history, reading, and then we call these easy 3 things we do every day: memory work, spelling, and sight words. So each of those have an assignment. We even started working with my first grader on how to look at this list and know what needs to be done. And that is really helpful for us. It helps us have a plan, helps us know what we've accomplished and what we still need to get done, just like a to-do list. Other thing is that I use binder. This has a lot of reference material. Our school follows the classical model of education, and so there's a lot of memory work in these first young years. And so we have a scripture that we're memorizing. We're doing the countries of Asia, and then a poem that goes along with their history unit, as well as some science. I have all of that in the binder, page protectors, so that it doesn't get lost. I learned this from last year when I had a million papers, and I was like, I don't know where half of them are. So keep those in there, as well as our sight words. We just go through, when we were learning sight words, I would put them on sticky notes and we'd play different games with them around the house. But now that he's learned them, we're just reviewing. He just goes through each sight word really quick. So that is in here, as well as any past poems, memory work, and then also some phonics charts that are helpful. Especially as we were learning those new phonics rules, having the visuals really, really helpful. I think I just got those on Teacher Pay Teacher or Pinterest, the internet. The last thing that I do, and this is where I'm a very rule following person, and if you give me the list of things to do, I want to get them all done and will do them all. But one area where I feel like there's some tension between the curriculum choice and what I would choose is in our storybook Bible that we use for our Bible subject. So we have an assigned storybook Bible. It's fine. It's not bad, but it is not great. And so what I've done this year is that I've taken just my CSB version Bible and we'll read the chapter of the Bible, or if we're in the car, we'll do the audio version. A lot of times we'll do the audio version. And the CSB is pretty plain language. It's fairly simple to understand for a 6-7-year-old. Not every week, probably more like every other week when we get to the chapter, I've been using the Bible Recap Kids Edition. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Bible Recap. Tara Lee Cobble has a great podcast. A lot of people use that resource. It's a great way to walk through the Bible in a year, and it just has really a really great synopsis of that section of scripture. And so I love how she puts it just in 3 simple bullet points for those chapters, and then also connects it to the heart or the child too. That is something that I do. That is it's in addition to just reading the chapter in the Bible or reading from the storybook Bible, but I find it to be more meaningful and I could probably do that with every subject, but for me and for our family, it's really important to get these foundational truths and not just be reading through the Bible passage, but really connecting it to the larger picture of Scripture and to our hearts. Those are my 3 little tips and tricks. I am gonna eat some lunch and then rest. Thanks for coming along this week. I'm really glad we got to show you a little bit of what our hybrid homeschool days look like. If you have any questions about this model of homeschool, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'd love to talk more about it. See you next week.